Southern Nevadans are the water smartest, saving 200 billion gallons over the years. Residents, HOAs, and businesses follow the seasonal watering schedule and replace grass with water-smart landscaping. Golf courses operate within water budgets. Resorts account for just 7% of the valley's water use. And developers, they're doing their part too. They follow strict water-smart building codes. So thank you, and keep saving water where it matters most, outdoors. Learn more at snwa.com. The union spent big money trying to punish Nevada lawmakers who killed the film tax credit bills, and voters said, not so fast. Plus, the Cromwell is officially no more. In steps the Vanderpump Hotel. So can the reality TV star make it work? And it turns out Las Vegas isn't the sprawling suburb everyone thinks it is. A new study says we're actually one of the densest cities in the country. So what does that actually mean for the future of housing here? It's Tuesday, June 16th. I'm Jesse Merrick, and here's what Las Vegas is talking about. All right, Layla and Rob, it's been a slow couple days to kick off the week. I think everybody's kind of hungover from the Stanley Cup final, right?
Yeah, lazy days of summer and coming down from our Vegas Golden Knights high that we were enjoying for a few days there.
Yeah. It was sad not to get the win, but it was still a great series.
It really was. When you really dive into it and think about what they did, I mean, with 8 games to go, firing Bruce Cassidy, kudos to Tortorella for getting them rolling like that. And I think in the grand scheme of things, when you sit back and think about the fact that they have been to the Stanley Cup final 3 times in their existence, 9 years? That is pretty impressive to be able to do something like that.
Yeah, and under the new coach, they turned around a season that wasn't looking so good, and I want to see him stick around and see what he can do with a full season to work with.
Yeah, Jesse, do you think he's going to stick around? What are the odds there?
I'm so curious because after the game, and that was something I've talked about a ton before the series was over. It's like, what's going to happen with Torts when this is all said and done? If they win, you're like, okay, as with his age and everything, probably right off into the sunset with the championship, right? Mm-hmm. After the game, he did say he does want to keep coaching, but he wouldn't necessarily say anything here. Like that was an offhand comment that he made later on after he was bluntly asked if he wanted to coach.
Oh, no.
So to be completely honest, I think he comes back and probably tries to run it back one more time just because this is a team that is set up for another run next year. So I think had they won, he probably rides off into the sunset. Since they didn't, he's like, all right, let's do it one more time. I got another good one left in me.
So losing the Stanley Cup was a good thing in the long run. And now we can force him to stick around.
Yeah. I think they'd take the cup over that right now and have to make a hard decision from a coaching perspective now.
I know. I like it. Playing the long game.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what a fun party Las Vegas put on for not winning the cup. The free concerts at Tobisha Plaza. That was all fun.
No, yeah, it's so cool the way they do all that. And, I'm sure Carolina is probably still partying. I always think, what would it be like to win the cup here in Vegas? Now we've seen 2 teams do that, and so that's a hell of a party for sure. But one of those deals where, again, as we talked about the ups and downs of the season, kind of something you can't really script. And kind of with that in mind, we are talking about the movie biz a bit here today. Layla, it seems like that film's tax credit bill just will not disappear. What's going on there?
No, it is still around in the conversation. So this is from reporting from April Corbin-Gurnis, one of our contributors at the Nevada Current.
Shout out to April.
Yeah. So 2 Democratic lawmakers, Senator Edgar Flores and Assemblymember Jovan Jackson, were targeted by union-backed primary challengers after voting against a proposed $1.8 billion public subsidy for a Las Vegas film studio. The proposed subsidy was called a Hollywood handout by conservative and progressive opponents. The deal would have benefited Sony Pictures, Warner Brothers Discovery, and developer Howard Hughes Holdings. The legislative staff warned that this subsidy would create a serious budget shortfall for the state by 2030, saying it would push the state's general fund off a fiscal cliff. The union's Laborers Local 872 and the Clark County Education Association invested heavily in these challengers. Neither effort succeeded. Flores won by nearly 9 points, and Jovan Jackson won by 71% of the vote. There was a third Democrat, Assemblymember Howard Watts, who narrowly lost his race, though that centered on broader issues beyond the film subsidy. His opponent, Miguel Davila, didn't take a stance on the subsidy and told The Current that it wasn't on his radar since voters didn't bring it up. And then on the Republican side, Senator Lisa Krasner in Northern Nevada voted in favor of the bill and faced criticism from a conservative challenger. She won with 70% of the vote, suggesting that the issue didn't significantly factor for voters on either side of the aisle. Honestly.
So, I think to that point too, though, this film tax credit bill just seemingly won't die. Why does it keep hanging around? Is it because it's one of those deals where it's you can see, both sides of it? It's not necessarily a Republican thing or a Democratic thing. It's all over the place, right?
It's a business thing.
Yeah, I think unions bring it up. I think businesses bring it up. I think the studios want to come to Vegas for their own benefit. It's a cheaper market than California. They're saying that it'll boost our economy. We're not seeing, we don't obviously see that yet from the current tax subsidy that's in place. And so putting a significant amount of more money into it doesn't feel warranted by a lot of voters and by a lot of lawmakers.
I kind of see it as Nevada sees an industry and we're ready to strike and take advantage of this. I mean, it's kind of one of those things that Spencer Pratt was talking about in Los Angeles when he was running for mayor, that you have this homegrown industry that LA is known for in the movie industry, and it's going elsewhere. It's going to Atlanta. It's going to Toronto and other places that are more favorable, have better tax incentives. And I think Nevada's if we're going to get a little bit of this runoff from the California economy, why don't we get into the movie business and show that, hey, you can do this here. We could build some studios here and make it very appealing for you.
Yeah, I think that's true, but I think the bill needs more work. And we're most likely going to see it return again in the next legislative session. But it only lost by one vote in the Senate and again by one vote in the special session. So I think with some tweaks to the language and maybe even depending on the makeup of the legislature, this could pass.
Yeah, just will it to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I guess that brings up another question of what do you think a restructured version of this would look like, that could possibly get through?
They would have to address the budget crisis, the fiscal shortfall. We don't want to push the state off a fiscal cliff by 2030.
It's a scary term.
So I think they would have to I think they would have to address that and directly address the fact that the Hollywood handout aspect of it. It does feel like we're giving a lot of money away to these corporations that don't need that much money, and see how it could benefit the community more instead of feeling like it's just going to benefit these corporations and these studios.
Here's my proposal. Give everybody free HBO Max. That's Warner Brothers, right? They want a movie studio here. Give everybody in Nevada free HBO Max indefinitely, as long as that studio is here. And we get a little something, we get to wet our beak. I like this idea.
Yeah, I think if the studios found a way to support the local film industry and uplift some of these local theaters. I can't remember if it was Sony or Warner had a partnership with UNLV and was talking about having some kind of educational aspect to bringing their studio to
That's a good idea.
The city. Yeah, I think building that out also, that was a very vague kind of thing that they sprinkled in, that there would be some kind of educational aspect to bringing their studio to Las Vegas. I think making that concrete and focusing on what is this going, don't talk about how people from California can drive here and make it home easier. How is this going to build community in Las Vegas and not just be a satellite location for Hollywood?
Yeah, I think one of the other things that's interesting in all of this is more so, just a corporate subsidy thing in general of like you said, Layla, they're not going to utilize all that. So they would go and sell off, the whatever tax credit they aren't using. And then there's that ripple effect that, hits our community. So that's one of the things that I think scares a lot of people. So maybe putting more clear boundaries on that as well here locally to stop from us falling off of that fiscal cliff, which sounds terrifying. And obviously none of us want any part of that.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a different version of this bill in the next legislative session that addresses that.
But yeah, if you get the tax breaks here, you got to hire here, you got to film here, you have to do it here.
Yeah, that's a massive key, that's for sure.
Step into the movies with the Neon Museum's new movie tour in the heart of Las Vegas. Take a guided walk through real neon backdrops that have actually appeared in some of Hollywood's most memorable scenes over the decades. Your tour starts in the iconic La Concha Motel lobby, which is now the Neon Museum's visitor center, and a key setting in Scorsese's film Casino. Stand where Robert De Niro and Sharon Stone filmed their romantic evening as Ace and Ginger, and then wander the world-famous neon boneyard surrounded by vintage marquees and historic signs. Plus, you'll connect neon landmarks to films like Casablanca, Superman, and The Joe Louis Story. Relive the comedy of Vegas Vacation as you walk among signs tied to Chevy Chase's classic. You'll hear insider stories and fun trivia that bring these movie moments to life and capture unforgettable photos. So join fellow cinephiles on a one-of-a-kind tour that turns the Neon Museum into your own movie set. Check out the Neon Museum's new movie tour and discover how Las Vegas earned its reputation as the entertainment capital of the world through film.
All right, Rob. Well, speaking of like the film industry adjacent,
Yes.
I guess, right? Vanderpump Hotel.
A Californian coming here.
Yeah.
I see
Yeah.
where we're
Right?
going.
Yeah, nice little transition. So the Cromwell is no more. In steps the Vanderpump Hotel. You were there for the grand opening. How was that?
I was. It was pretty good. It's kind of one of those big, extravagant Las Vegas events because anytime there's a new hotel opening on the Strip, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Now, this isn't like the Mirage turning into the Hard Rock. This is the Cromwell turning into the Vanderpump Hotel. It's small. It's about 188 rooms. It's less than 200 rooms. I know that.
Yeah.
And, this is a very interesting thing. So I got a chance to see what it looks like. And if I was going to sum up the Vanderpump Hotel in one word, chandeliers. Just chandeliers everywhere.
I was going to say purple because I saw purple everywhere.
Well, there's a lot of purple. Also, the environment is kind of darker, like when you go through the
So
lobby
it's
and the
moody.
casino. But you do see bright pops of color from like faux foliage. You see some extravagant chandeliers. I noticed the chandeliers when I was on the escalator outside the hotel, when I was over by the Horseshoe going up over in the overpass. And I'm looking up at these windows in these new rooms and you can see the chandeliers from outside. But they have them in the lobby. They have them in the bar. And I can definitely see that Lisa Vanderpump is putting her own stamp on this.
So, Rob, I'm so curious because when I think of, Vanderpump and just the Vanderpump Hotel, I'm like picturing, hidden cameras everywhere. Like, are we getting like their version of Love Island here at the Vanderpump Hotel? Like, or is this like a legit, add-on to the Strip rather than like some sort of celebrity branding experience?
Are you trying to say this is merely a vanity project?
That's what it feels like from afar.
Is this
I'm not
the real
gonna lie. I'm
deal?
not trying to be a hater, but
Well, I mean, think about it. Having your own name on a casino resort,
Yeah.
how rare is that?
Yeah.
I mean, the list is pretty short. I mean, what? Steve Wynn, Benny Binion, Caesar, Julius Caesar.
The
Does that
Caesar.
count? So I want to give Lisa Vanderpump credit because not only did she score her own hotel casino with her own name on it, but she's always been very hands-on with her projects. She kind of came to town, obviously a star on Vanderpump Rules, Real Housewives of Something on Bravo TV. And she came to Vegas, now has these glorified restaurant lounges at Caesar's Palace and at the Paris. And then she kind of went up to a full-fledged restaurant with Pinky's at the Flamingo. And each one has its own look and theme while still matching the Vanderpump aesthetic. And I've met her a few times. She's always very nice. And you can always tell how much she cares about these projects. I was at Pinky's during a press event shortly after that opened. And in the middle of a conversation, Lisa Vanderpump noticed a chair was out of place. And she stopped the interview to make sure that this chair was moved from one part of the restaurant to the other. And she wouldn't pick back up on this interview until it happened.
I like the
you could
attention
tell
to
she was
detail.
very, it's true. And she could have easily just like said something to an assistant, oh, make sure that happens later.
Yeah.
But she was like very particular about how she wanted the space to look and would not move on to the next thing on her schedule or in her mind until it was done. So that always kind of stood out to me. Was it performative? Maybe a little bit. But you know what? It's her vision. She's doing her thing. And Caesars Entertainment is letting her carry it out. And when you look at the Cromwell versus the Vanderpump Hotel, you do see some of those changes. I mean, you do see a lot of Lisa in the hallway, in the lobby.
Well, what I want to know, Rob, is, Dre's held a lot of
yes.
memories for me.
I knew you were going to get to this, Layla.
Yeah, what does that space look like now? Is it completely changed? What are her plans going forward? What does that look like?
Well, if you remember, they were calling the rooftop pool Dre's, like Dre's Beach Club, Dre's Nightclub. In the press, they've kind of framed it as it's moving downstairs into the basement to the original space again. But
after hours.
Yes, but it's been called Dre's After Hours for a while. They've been calling it that during the Cromwell era too. But they have invested a lot into kind of decking it out. I believe $200,000 was used just to kind of enhance the venue. And that includes furniture, lighting, artwork. They have a new cotton candy and caviar experience down there.
Oh, wow.
So if you want to have a little fun after dark, there's a hookah program. No surprise there. But you know what? They're doing an all-inclusive VIP nightlife experience, which means you get kind of expedited entry, at least that's what it sounds like, and a hosted open bar for $99.
Okay.
That's like 4 drinks any other place in Vegas. So that's not a bad deal.
Not bad at all. And I'm curious, though. Have you ever had cotton candy and caviar? That seems like a wild pairing to me.
I have had cotton candy and caviar, not at the same time.
That's an interesting combo.
But I'm not opposed to trying it. The rooftop pool is now called Solea. I think I'm saying that right. SOLEIA. And that's where the big grand opening party took place last week for the most part. I mean, you were hanging in the lobby for a while, but also you got to go upstairs.
Did you see Lisa Vanderpump?
Oh, yeah. I saw her there. She was, it's like watching Princess Kate walk through the streets of London. She kind of commands all the attention, surrounded by her reality TV stars and other minions. But no, it was very much a celebration, very much a bash. The Vanderpump Rosé was flowing. I can attest to that personally.
My man.
But looking back up to the rooftop pool, it looks almost exactly the same as it was when it was the Cromwell. So I kind of think that has some potential to turn into something else. I see it right now as a blank canvas for Lisa to sprinkle her magic Vanderdust and turn it into something new.
It's going to be interesting to see what she does with that for sure. I'm curious, though, because, you know, the Cromwell in that location, a boutique hotel at that point of the Strip, it just seems like it never really caught its footing. So quickly, I'm just curious, like, do you think the Vanderpump brand is what's going to push it through, you know, to the next level to make it actually last?
Well, you know, I don't think the Cromwell did badly. I just think it never really had the emotional connection and resonance with the Las Vegas Strip that some other places might have. I mean, before it was the Cromwell, it was Bill's Gambling Hall and Saloon. Before that, it was the Barbary Coast. Very different images. I mean, back then, they were kind of an iconic part of the skyline. There was that kind of famous looking marquee out front, that cylindrical kind of burst of neon that you'd always see everywhere when people would talk about the Las Vegas Strip. I think the Cromwell, while elevated and more luxurious, felt relatively plain compared to that, aside from the addition of the rooftop pool, which is fabulous. But I think Lisa Vanderpump has a chance to turn this into something interesting. She's definitely putting her own stamp on it. I got to look at the rooms. The rooms they've been redesigned. And while the rest of the property kind of seems dark and moody, the rooms are brighter. They've got this kind of like almost like gray, brighter color pattern to them. Pastoral wallpaper, you know, with like a countryside mural. Very fancy. Free coffee machines.
Okay,
you don't see that too much on the Strip these days. So I'm going to give her credit for that. And the mini bar is decked out with bottles of Vanderpump vodka and rosé. Not free, but you can get those if you want. But looking at what's going to happen, I think there's a lot more happening here. She's already taken the cocktail lounge, which long ago was known as Bound, and that's now called Gigolo, which is actually named after her little pup who passed away recently, Jiggy. I guess the full name on the passport was Gigolo.
I thought the pup was named Gigolo. I was like, okay, that's interesting.
I was gonna say
Yeah, I think that was the full name, but everyone knew the pup as Jiggy. So, I mean, it's a beautiful space with fancy furniture, bright pops of kind of rose red color. So it's kind of like a romantic space. Shareable cocktails. Cocktails aren't cheap. They kind of start at like $24.
Sorry, Rob, you said that the coffee machines were free in the rooms. Is that not?
Yes.
Is that? I haven't stayed at a Strip hotel in a minute.
It's been a while for me.
But do they not offer coffee in hotel rooms anymore?
Well, I try to avoid staying on the Strip as much as possible. I just like to dip in and out. So I don't know. Maybe we should have some listeners write in and let us know the last time they did a staycation on the Strip. Was the coffee free? I would like to know, when I was doing a tour of the room, they acted like it was kind of a big deal. But I'll just say this. The one thing I'm worried about, I'm a little worried about Giada.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
What's going to happen?
I think her days are numbered. That's something that came with the Cromwell when the property was revamped and reopened. And obviously, Lisa Vanderpump, she loves coming up with her own restaurant concepts. I think she's eyeing that space. Has a beautiful corner location right there on Flamingo and Las Vegas Boulevard. The windows open up. It's really cool. So I think Lisa Vanderpump can't wait to get her fingerprints and her hands into that restaurant space and turn it into something else totally different. So nobody said anything to me, but also in this grand opening, nobody was actually talking up Giada. So take that as you will. I think they're probably waiting for a contract, lease, or agreement to run out, whatever it may be.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't hear a lot of fanfare about Giada, but
Yeah.
I'm a little worried about what used to be Dre's, now is Soleil or the Rooftop Club, because that was, as a local, like, my recommendation if anybody asks me, like, oh, where should we go on the Strip? Dre's was always my favorite for the music that they played. It was
me too.
always fun, a party vibe.
A lot of rap, a lot of R&B up there.
Yeah, I think they had, like, the best setup. And, I even think about when they filmed Love Island back in 2020 up there. I think that is one of my favorite spots to go to on the Strip if I am going on the Strip for a night out. So I'm curious to see if she's going to, like, quote unquote, try to, like, class that up in, like, is the music going to stay the same? Are they going to go for a different vibe? Is it going to turn into another EDM spot? Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what the evolution of Dre's is going to be like.
Well, I wonder if people will go for it. Yeah, that's the thing that's going to be super interesting to see.
Yeah.
Well, the views aren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
So those rooftop views will always be in place. The name's different. Right now, it kind of looks the same. And they are planning a Vanderpump Rules spinoff or some type of reality show that's going to be filmed in Las Vegas. So, of course, they're going to use that rooftop deck as a filming location, probably as much as they can.
Yeah, I can't lie. I'm a little bit excited about the reality TV show.
I was waiting.
We should do an episode on it when it comes out.
Definitely.
All right, moving on, guys. Las Vegas was long thought of as a wide open desert, where growth was really just slow and steady. It kind of felt like we were just kept moving out, especially in places like Henderson and Summerlin. But it turns out we're actually one of the most dense metro areas in the country, which is really surprising to me. A new study from the UNLV Lead Center for Real Estate looked at 233 of the biggest metro regions of the U.S., and Las Vegas came in at number 16, putting us in the top 7%. Isn't that crazy? The thing that got me, too, is that it means that we're more dense than San Diego, Houston, and Phoenix. Like, mind blown when I hear those things.
That doesn't sound right.
I don't know
It doesn't
about
at
that.
all. Yeah, I look, color me a skeptic as well, because I was like, there's no way. But look, the research says what the research says.
Sell me on this, Jesse.
Yeah. But the main reason, I guess, for why we're so dense is obviously the surrounding mountains that the valley has on all sides, so we can only go out so far. And then also, to the federal land boundaries that we have essentially kind of put a hard limit on how far out we can build. So instead of sprawling outward, we've kind of had no choice lately but to just kind of build up and in, which is an interesting thing too, because here's the big catch on it all. The one area where Las Vegas is lacking is land use mix. Our residential neighborhoods are still kind of separated from where a lot of people work and shop, which is a big quality of life issue, I think, overall. And this is a direct connection to the housing affordability conversation as well, because if we've essentially kind of hit our growth boundary, land just keeps getting more expensive. And so it just turns into this like revolving circle of just like horrible situation for housing. But the thing that really got me in all of this is when you dive into like the infill empty lots that we have. We have 82,000 acres of vacant and underutilized land already inside the Las Vegas metro area, which, to put that in perspective, especially for you here, Layla, that is the size of Henderson just sitting empty in the Vegas metro area. Like, that to me drove it all home and really made me wonder, like, okay, this more sounds like a conversation for unlocking that infill land more than anything else, right?
So we have a whole other Henderson just sprinkled throughout the valley, ready to be tapped into.
Which is crazy to think about because, like, 10 years ago, we had even more empty lots around town.
Yeah.
So the fact that we still have the size of Henderson in empty lots is crazy to think about for me.
And then now too, like just to go back to the conversation of tearing down the hotels, around Fremont and stuff like that, more empty vacant lots as well. So I don't know, like this is one of those things where I just wonder, like, do we really have to push home as we continue to now try and build a more dense area here to be like, let's unlock those. And maybe that does help with housing affordability.
I do think we need to put some of this study into perspective. I've been to Houston. I've been to San Diego. I mean, if I'm going to compare the traffic there to here, it's a big difference.
Yeah.
I think as opposed to saying we're more dense, I think we're more centralized is a way to look at it, because everything is pretty much in the valley. And like you said, we start to get into mountain ranges. We start to get into federal boundaries that kind of prevent us from sprawling out too much.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at other markets, like my parents live in Charlotte, and you take the city of Charlotte, there's so much around it in a way that you don't get from Las Vegas, where everything is kind of in one place and you can more or less go to anywhere you want in 20 minutes or less. Yeah. I said more or less.
That's
if you're really going
favorite thing to
corner
say
to corner,
here.
Yeah, that used to be this.
It's like 40 minutes. I know. But you know what? I lived in Savannah, Georgia before coming to Las Vegas. And their whole sort of like market stretched out to like Hilton Head Island in South Carolina. Because in those kind of flatter areas and also older areas, it just all spreads out a lot more. And here in Vegas, we're just a little more condensed. We're a little more closer together. But I don't think we're quite on top of each other like some of these other cities are. At least not yet. We are getting there, though.
This is so interesting to me because it doesn't feel like we're so dense. It still feels like we're trying to build out instead of building in. Yeah. So hearing that whereas we're more dense than San Diego feels wrong to me. But then thinking about San Diego, it is a huge city. And Las Vegas is still fairly, new in terms of city terms.
Yeah, putting it in perspective, yeah.
Like Carlsbad is in San Diego County. I mean, it's so much there.
Exactly. We still have a lot to build out on, but we're in this bowl, so everything's kind of crunched together. I think mixed use and zoning is a big issue here, and we could get better laws around that, but I haven't seen the political will to get that done or do that. And I also think people who have been here for a long time, including me, I like a strip mall. Like, I love a strip mall. I don't know if I would love living on top of a convenience store. Like, that kind of idea doesn't seem favorable to me, but I think it's just because we don't do it here.
Like, because that would kind of in a sense create more walkability in a lot of different areas. So like, is that something you'd be willing to sacrifice in order to increase the walkability? Because that's a big concern I hear from a lot of folks as well, that Vegas just isn't walkable. And I'll agree, it doesn't feel it in many places.
You're right. Yeah, I think you have to, you gain some, you lose some. I think to get more walkable, we need to adjust these zoning regulations and get used to the idea of like, yeah, you can live closer to a shop or a store and you're still like, I don't know, will I still feel like my little like quiet enclave in my neighborhood? Or is it going to feel noisier? Is that something that the community is going to have to adjust to and get used to? I don't know. It just feels different to me. Like going to visit cities that have these mixed use properties, like it feels claustrophobic almost to me. But I know that's what we need to be. Yeah, I know that's what we need to be walkable though.
Well, we're starting to get a taste of that in the Arts District.
Yeah.
They're building these new condo buildings, apartment buildings. And the idea there is that you'll be able to walk to your shops, your restaurants, your bars,
still need
and
a good
not have to
grocery
worry
store,
about parking.
Though, okay, near the Arts District.
A bodega.
That's an example of like the community not yet knowing how to deal with that because of the issues that we're seeing in the Arts District with noise. And like, it's the Arts District. It's going to be noisy. It's going to be noisier than your like quiet neighborhood in Summerlin or your like tucked away community in Henderson. So I think as a community, we need to get used to that. And we haven't found a way there yet.
It is kind of an experiment to see if it'll work.
Yeah.
It is. Well, you talk about the noise ordinances and stuff like that. Wait till more people start filling in those apartment complexes down in the Arts District. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, there's an influx of hundreds upon hundreds of people, maybe 1,000 people, however many rooms there are there. It's going to be so interesting to see how that kind of gets moving. But I also wonder with that, again, we're seeing those apartment complexes pop up. They are not high rises, but I wonder, Because that's where my brain went with all this is like, oh, are we going to start really seeing high rises take hold here in the Valley? Is that something you guys think is on the horizon? And would you welcome it? Layla, I feel like you probably aren't super welcoming of a high rise.
I mean, I know it like probably should and needs to happen.
What if we make it in the shape of a guitar, though? Like,
I don't know. Don't get me started.
I would live in that.
I think it needs to happen to get better use out of our land, create infill, create more walkable communities. But it is a different look for our city. It is a different Las Vegas.
Well, we tried it once with One Queensridge place, where you have a high rise for residential living right on the edge of Summerlin right there. But that was built a while ago, and you don't really see a lot of that outside of downtown and outside of the Strip.
And the cost, ridiculous if you want to live there. You got to have big time money from what I understand.
And most people who live there renovate those units anyway, because it is kind of aged in at this point and a little old. But if I can reference another casino town, Monte Carlo, Monaco. Monaco is known for being very extravagant and high-end, obviously. But it's also something like 2 square miles in size. It's tiny. And they have cranes everywhere, all over the place, because they really can't build anywhere else. They got to kind of build on top of each other. So it's high rise after high rise, maybe tear one down, renovate another one, put another one back up. Maybe that will be the future of Las Vegas. I don't know. We could see more high rises.
So are we turning into a luxury town, though? Like, this doesn't help affordable housing. This doesn't create more of that for our community. Like, are we pricing out? You know, that's what I worry about with just like focusing on high rises. Like, are we pricing out people who aren't going to want to go into a luxury high rise?
I would like to just see more starter homes, because all the new homes are
balance,
kind of for the middle class and up and way up. And you really can't, get in on the residential level of ownership until you've saved up a lot of money or make a certain level of income.
Yeah, so what does like a mixed-use starter home community look like?
Well, aren't they trying to kind of do that with the tiny homes? Not necessarily mixed use there.
But you shouldn't have to have a tiny home to have a starter home.
And that's the thing where I think it's a double-edged sword, okay? Like, because also I've said it many times, like I am a homeowner now, and I don't want to get screwed by, the affordability and everything like that, but I also want people to be able to get into it too, So like, how do you factor in current homeowners wanting to be able to profit off of it and continue to move through the ranks that way?
I mean, the thing is, as long as people keep moving here, especially from California, like we mentioned earlier, and are willing to pay these premium prices for homes, they're going to do it. Because even these homes, as the prices are rising, are still a lot cheaper than in California.
Yeah. So true. That's one of those things. As someone who's originally from California, my view is so skewed of what's affordable for a home. But having said that, hopefully we can figure out a way to do it and don't just become a city of high rises everywhere.
It's like being from Las Vegas and having a skewed view on cocktail prices. I'm like, what, 18? That's pretty good.
Yeah, I'll take that over insane home prices. All right, guys. Thank you so much for today. We really painted a broad brush, I think, here.
Yeah, it was fun. Thanks, Jesse.
The artwork known as CityCast Las Vegas.
That's all for today here on CityCast Las Vegas. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend? Rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our free morning newsletter as well. And don't forget, you can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Las Vegas neighbor at membership.citycast.fm/Las Vegas. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Until then, though, take care.